Standing back to back and our guns is drawn.
Chatting with some of my artist friends, and we actually have a question for you.
Hit me.
So something that comes up a lot when doing music, and I'm sure this applies across the board, the what if. That is a big, nasty question. What if I don't make it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get that out of your mind?
Well, what if you don't?
Right. That's a really tough question.
Yeah. So the what ifs will drive you insane. They will, run the show, ruin your life, and it doesn't really get you anywhere. It's like treading water in the deep end. You just kind of stay stuck in one place, and you're not really propelling forward. And what ifs are very much anxiety driven, and they can create a lot of anxiety. So, I kind of turn it around on people sometimes and say, well, what if you don't? What is the next step? What are you asking the what ifs about? Because, there's the what ifs typically, we assign something low probability and make it high probability, so the what ifs don't necessarily always happen. Sometimes they do. And so I do think it is important to think through, what would happen if that what if came true? Would you survive it? Where would your support be? What would be your next step? Kind of getting a plan in place. And at the same time, the what ifs are the things that can keep you stuck from being able to move forward. So part of the nature of anxiety is paralysis or procrastination. And the what ifs can kind of keep us stuck from moving forward because there's so much anxiety.
It is like it can turn into this almost like loop in your brain, right? And that's like a really dangerous thing when creating.
Yeah.
Because like you've got to like break through this entire block. On the other hand, though, for me myself as an artist, it's like, okay, what if I don't, and this goes into the comparison trap from last weekend, right? So we look at this pinnacle of what we consider success, and we're like, we've got to get there. Now, if I don't get there, at least I tried.
Right.
And I won't live with regret.
Right.
Also, this just occurred to me, there are many artists in the art world who found fame long after they were gone.
Right.
And they weren't around to see their success. Legends like Van Gogh.
Right.
I don't think he found his success until after he was gone.
Right. Yep.
So it's a very puzzling scenario.
Yeah, those are excellent points. And that's where it's almost like, imagine taking all the what ifs and taking them out of your brain and putting them up on a movie screen or a TV screen and just observe them, but don't be in them. Because when you're in the world of what ifs, you're totally watching the anxiety channel. And you got to learn to change the channel. And so to do that, you kind of have to distance yourself. And I love the perspective you just offered, because when it comes down to it, you're going to have to then ask yourself, well, even if that comes true, these what ifs come true, am I still taking steps that feel right for me? Do I still feel passionate about doing this? How can I turn these what ifs and this struggle and this anxiety into a really vulnerable piece of my own creativity? Because this is a real experience that everybody goes through.
And that's the thing. Like, I know that just in the artist community, in the music community, so many people, and myself included, we all have our moments of like, did I make the right choice here? Or did I totally screw this up?
Yeah. Well, and self-doubt isn't going to go away. I just want people to hear that and know that. that bit of anxiety, that bit of self-doubt, that's part of being human. And each next level where you get to something else that's new, or something else that feels even more vulnerable or different or scary, is you're gonna have these normal human emotions around it. But how you navigate through them in healthy ways is important. Like, you know, AdELA, calling your friend up and being like, hey, talk me off the anxiety ledge. That's such a healthy way to cope with anxiety, you know? Or talking through the what ifs with someone, externalizing them. This isn't about not having anxiety. It's about recognizing that you're human and you're going to have it, but you're not going to let it control your life.
Okay, so if you were to give us, and I love what you said, because yes, there are many times like I've had to call someone and say, okay, you know what, I'm just done.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore. And they're just like, are you crazy? Like, you know, like, and they've got to like give me my reasons of why I shouldn't quit, even though I know the logical side of my brain is, you know, not operating fully at the time, because maybe I'm having a bad day or something happened. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's a very difficult space to navigate. If you were going to give us like a tip or a couple tips to be able to change that behavior, because you said something really important. You said it's one, self-doubt doesn't go away, and it's a normal part of being human. So how do you kind of maybe make it healthy, I guess?
Sure. Well, I think the first step is being aware of when you're in the what ifs. So, you know, I call it the snowball effect, where your thoughts are accumulating and building and growing. And put a halt to it. Just kind of step back and observe your thoughts, almost like scenery going by, or like the traffic going by. You can observe your thoughts without being in them. It's really a skill, it's a discipline, but it's just kind of the act of stopping and what all was I just thinking about? And you just kind of re-go through that in your mind, but then counteract them. The what if is always attached to something negative. What if the opposite happens? What if, you know, so what if A happens? What if B, C, D, E, F, and, you know, like, so learning to get out of the rigidity of that way of thinking and offer your mind some other thoughts. Because when you start to do that, so what if I don't get this award? What if I don't get published? What if I don't get that gig? Well, what if I do? Or what if I don't, but then I made some good connections, and then that leads me to a next step. You know, so when you start to replace negative thoughts with more positive or more neutral thoughts, the more you do it, the more your brain's going to learn that you have now another tool that actually makes you feel better. And so it'll naturally start to give you those other thoughts on its own over time.
Wow. And I love what you just said. It was like, you know, you said something and it was almost like looking at the bright side of it.
Yeah.
So even if worst case scenario happens, there still can be good that comes out of it.
Right. And part of that is trusting the process. And knowing that all you can do is the next best thing. And then you're someone who can learn from mistakes, or you're someone who can, you know, bounce back even when failures happen. But really learning to catch the habit of negative thinking and replace it. It's the same concept as, you know, if I tell you don't think about the pink elephant, you're going to think about the pink elephant.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So don't think about the what ifs. That doesn't do anything. But if I tell you don't think about the pink elephant, think about the yellow bear, then you're then going to go to the yellow bear. So you replace a negative image with a positive image. Replace a negative thought with a positive thought, or at least a more neutral thought. And so when we begin to form new patterns of thinking, then we weaken the old patterns of what ifs, which create neural pathways in our brain. So this is a skill and it's a discipline, But if you want to get out of the habit of the what ifs, you have to replace it with a new habit, a new way of thinking.
Okay, so I think anybody that is watching this would like to know, how quickly does this happen?
So yeah, that's a great question. If you can be intentional, not being perfect at it, this is not about perfection, but you can be intentional about doing this over the next 21 days, then you're going to have formed a new habit, and your brain's going to now offer this as a natural tool. If you can keep it going from anywhere to 60 to 90, well, no, more like 82 to 90 days, then that habit actually gets put in your long-term memory. And so then it becomes a long-term habit to keep, meaning
Like
that,
a way of life.
yeah. And so again, it's not about perfection, it's about consistency. You know, it's like if you consistently go out on a walk every day and that's become a part of your lifestyle, some days maybe you don't go as long as others, but if you don't miss it, it feels bad when you don't do it anymore.
Right, yeah.
Lifestyle. Same way with our way of thinking. And we know that our thoughts, feelings, and what we do are all connected. Negative thoughts create more cortisol in the body, which is the stress hormone. There's evidence and research that more healthy and adaptive ways of thinking that actually releases more dopamine and serotonin in the body, which it helps with a better mood. So mind body connection, all these little things that go into how you feel, really a lot of it boils down to habits of thinking.
So I would say that, first of all, I'm not sure if you realize this, but we're on episode 6.
Yay.
Which is a huge thing. But if anybody's watching, I say that we challenge ourselves to this 21-day thought process, changing our thoughts.
Keep a journal of it. Write down your negative thoughts and replace them with the thought that you want to be able to replace it with. The positive thought or the neutral thought, that can be really helpful just to kind of keep track, but also hold yourself accountable.
Because 21 days is actually a very short time to invest in your long-term mental health.
Absolutely.
When you think about it, when you put it into that perspective, it's like, wait, I've just got to consciously make an effort to replace my negative thoughts with either neutral or positive thoughts for the next 21 days, which will at least form a short-term habit. Mm-hmm. And then if I can hit 82 to 90 days, it's a lifestyle change.
Yep.
So this was really awesome. I feel like I'm going to try this.
Awesome.
And let you know how it goes.
Please do. I would love to hear how it goes.
And Mandy and I want to say thank you guys, because this has been awesome. 6 episodes.
Yeah.
It's been big for us, but also follow us on social media. We're at AdELA and Mandy on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I'm AdELA Music on Instagram and AdELA on YouTube. And Mandy, you want to share yours?
Yeah, and then I'm therapist_Mandy on Instagram, and then on YouTube, I'm Therapist Mandy TV. So definitely check us out, guys.
Yes, and thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week. Bye.